Alright, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever and whenever you're joining us from. And welcome to Division 1 race at Netherlands, the home turf of our current defending champion Max Verstappen in real life. And let me do a quick audio check. Yep, looks like everything is good as we have a few drivers out on the track. None of them have retired. One of them on the inters. Oops. And Shadow Sword has already lost his car. Probably he was going to start his session, his hot lap, and he probably lost it at the exit. He probably went a bit too much on the inside, and then trying to counter steer his car, he probably lost it there. But we have Azun on the inters, so is he taking a feel or giving us a sign that we might see rain in the race? There are cloudy conditions in qualifying, as let's pick up some drivers. I'm with Racing Gupta at the moment as he's coming up to the middle of sector 2, or at least the half point of the track, halfway through the track. The air is open on his medium tires. That's fairly a good exit that he gets there. Racing Gupta having gotten his permanent seat now for the remainder of the season in this Mercedes. Let's see what kind of impact he can have as he comes across the final corner, full throttle down. DRS open and he sets up 1:11.3 on those mediums, so quite a representative and a fast time on those medium tires. So definitely he would later on come back on a set of softs and further improve on his time, as Yash has taken provisional pole in the process right now, as there are a lot of drivers putting those times in, and a 1:10.7 is definitely a really fast time to go, as PSI Legends has put in a 1:10.9, Vyom with a 1:11.1 on his mediums, and Mayank with a 1:11.5. Not sure if he's going on another run. Looks like he is, the way his battery is being deployed. Yes, he is on a second run, not really being impeded there. Takes the apex neat and close. DRS open on his second run of softs. Oh, he's not really improving. I think he's going to head back into the pits. Let's see, do we have someone else who's... There are drivers on the outlap, as Quick Killer has had a moment, and that is at the exit through that slow hairpin. As Netherlands as a track is a pretty difficult track to overtake. There's pretty much one DRS straight that's there, and you really need to be very close to the driver up ahead to be able to make that move, and by being close, I'd say 3.5 or 4 tenths. Anything beyond that, and if the driver has enough battery to defend his position, he might just be able to successfully do that. But let's see what these mega quick drivers have in store for us, as Quick Killer probably is going on another run. No, he's not deploying. His battery is not being deployed at the moment, so that's a long run back into the pits right now, as VFX has taken provisional pole on a set of mediums. So that's a very competitive time. He should be really happy with himself. Let's see how that track evolution comes into picture as the drivers come to better their times, as Epic Brothers probably has been missing a few sessions right now. Oh yeah, two DRS zones. Thanks, Sid. The other DRS zone is pretty much, I consider it insignificant in my racing. That might just pull you close to the car, but Unless the driver ahead has a bad exit, you really can't stick a move there. But yes, thanks for pointing that out. I stand corrected. As Epic Brothers is going to come and put on his time, so that is, he's a purple middle sector, so not sure if that's a game glitch, but we'll surely find out as he comes across the final braking zone. Not really a hard braking, avoids the curve on the inside, goes on full throttle, DRS wide open for him as he now comes across the line and sets in a pole position, provisional pole for Epic Brothers with a 110.5. That's a good comeback to make at the moment. So a lot of drivers have put in their time. Chip Schema is also not on a run. Is Tanishq on a run? Looks like he is on a run. So let's see what. There's no other driver who's really out on track. There's a Haas of Vyom that's coming in to put in their time. Let's see what that's like. And provisional pole for Vyom at the moment with a 110.4. So expect that either to be beaten or the drivers coming very close to it, as a lot of drivers are probably starting their hot laps now. Let's see what's that. Chips is now probably starting his time as Tanishq now coming close to the final corner. Let's see what kind of time can he put in. His first run, and goes on the inside. Was that a bit of loss of traction? But it's a 110.6, so second row for Tanishq right now. Alright, so almost a 10 separating Vyom and the front row. Okay, PSI has invalidated his lap, so there's a Haas of Vyom that's going to come back. There's an Alpha Tauri of Quick Killer that's really would want to make an impact. 1.7 seconds away from the pole time right now is Quick Killer, but is he not using his battery? He isn't. So can somebody tell him to go on to hot lap mode so that he gets some time there? Or not sure what's happening, and he has lost his car there as well. Oh, not the best of qualifying campaigns for Quick Killer right now. As let's go to the Alpine. Who's that Alpine that's probably crossing the line? That's Tanishq, is not going to come back into the pits. And VFX is on an out lap. There's a Mercedes coming behind of Racing Gupta again on a set of mediums. So yeah, as Molov is pointing out, definitely it looks like he is doing some race runs, not deploying his battery at all, but not sure if that will also be truly reflective of his race pace, because the battery is either on medium or on overtake if you use it. So while during qualifying it's on either on hot lap or it's not being deployed. So hopefully he would be getting a good taste of what kind of pace he has though, and will come back on a fresh rubber and probably look to come there either in the top 5 or somewhere. But let's see what's happening, as Hushrav has just started a lap. Has he, or has he just finished his lap with a 110.8? Not very sure what happened there. Alright, VFX should be coming in to finish his lap. He's improving by about 3.5 tenths, and provisional pole for VFX by almost a couple of tenths. So that's a good lap time set by him. Let's see if anybody can displace him from pole at the moment. As purple purple sector 1 for Epic Brothers, so I think that's really not a game glitch, because that probably happens as there's a yellow flag for the Alfa Romeo of Vintage, or I'm not very sure. There are a few reserves from Division 2 which I would have missed, but he takes that curve rather aggressively there, Epic Brothers, but has set in a purple sector 2 as well. And now coming across the final bank section, as he has, yes, that was Vintage, and Epic steals pole from VFix by almost 200ths of a second. A great lap time put in there, as Hushraf has just followed suit. He's probably on another run. Is he improving, or was that his previous time? So yeah, I think that's, as Racing Gupta has just started his lap, as there's a McLaren of Ethan that is also starting a lap, and Mayank is probably also coming back to the pits. Ahif, one of the Division 2 reserves, no, Division 2 full-time driver who is reserving tonight, and he got a podium P2 in the race yesterday, so, and definitely has a lot of solid pace in him. So let's see what kind of impact he can have in his first race in Division 1 here. As Ethan is probably on a run and is improving by 4/10 on his time, so that's like 3/10 still away from the pole time. So Ethan, who is probably the championship leader at the moment, I think he's taken that lead from Hushraf after the last couple of races. But let's see if he was improving on his time. Just kisses the curve on the inside, not being mindful of not taking it too much, and comes across the line, goes P5, so 2/10, close to 2.5 behind the pole sitters, but there is a lot of pace, especially in the top 6, and so that'll be an intense start that we may have, as Chip Seema has come up. Racing Gupta also came back into the pits. Yash is on an outlap. Ethan will probably come back to the pits. So another lull period. So Vintage player, another D2 driver who's, oops, what was that? How did that car just reset, or was that lag? I'm not sure what just happened there, but as Hushraf has left the session, so hopefully he can join back soon. Vintage, yeah, didn't have the best of races, had a lap 1 DNF, not sure what happened, but DNF very soon. Yesterday he would be looking to go for his Dutch fulfillment around this circuit for the weekend. So let's see how his trip goes out this time around. Yash has started a lap. I think he should be the first of the drivers to cross the line, or would it be Chip, I think, and he is coming back to the pits. Takes it neat and tidy, keeps his car tight on the inside there, Yash, as now he comes across purple middle sector there. He has a lot of pace, so that can be the game deceiving, or can be rather accurate of what the situation is, but we'll soon find out in a few seconds, as now he comes across the bank section of the track. DRS wide open as he crosses the finish line. That's P6 for Yash, and that's just it's 4/10 behind the leaders, so and he displaces Tanishq from that position, so a lot of pace in these drivers, as Ahif also in his debut D1 race is currently P9. Let's see who else did. Mayank, I think he just started his lap. So there's a Haas coming off Vyom, and not improving his lap by a 10, but still not enough to displace anybody, as PSI Legends has put in a stonker of a lap and has placed his car right at the front row, just 13 thousandths behind Epic Brothers. That's a very competitive lap time set in by him. As Vintage player now is going to start the lap again. So Epic Brothers would also be looking to start a lap. There's a car right behind him of Yash, and Yash has invalidated in the final corner. Would he be going? No, he's not going. So that's qualifying over for Yash. P7 at the moment. Has Ethan coming in for another run, or he's starting another one. Tanishq is also the Red Bull. I'm not really making an impact. Neither has Chip Schema. As let's go down to the broadcast view as we see drivers coming behind. Back to the pits. PSI Legends should also be back in the pits. Is that the vintage of Ahif or VFix? Improving on his time by a few hundredths and goes pole. So that's pole for VFix, and Epic Brothers has invalidated his lap. So that pole stands at the moment, as Ethan is also on a time right now. Let's see, a purple middle sector. Can he displace VFix from that pole position? As there's an Alfa Romeo also that's just going to come up, and Ethan has invalidated his lap, and that's Epic Brothers who was coming back into the pits. And do we have the Red Bulls out? Yes, we do have Chip Schema out. He's improving by a couple of tenths on his time, but would that be enough? That might just be enough to take a couple of position strategic poles for Chip Schema. I think that's somewhere he really enjoys to start in this particular league. Strategic pole is certainly a good choice to start, a good place to start, and I'm betting he might start on the medium tires, as Mayank has come back to the pits. So that's pretty much qualifying over for us. Right, so VFix, the fastest driver of the session, takes pole, followed by Epic Brothers occupying the front row. PSI Legends P3, a great lap from him. Hushrav in P4, Vyom P5, Ethan P6, Yash Kasalia, Tanishq, Ahif and Rahul making up the top 10. And Chip Schema with the strategic pole, Racing Gupta right behind him. Mayank, Vintage, Quick Killer, Shadow, Azun and Jin, the drivers with the free tire choices. Azun as usually not setting a time, and Shadow Sword having an early premature retirement from the session. So let's see what these drivers can do from behind the field. A hard circuit to overtake, but definitely a lot of scope for safety cars, because it's a circuit that's fairly pretty unforgiving as well. There are gravel traps, but if you just run a bit wide and you have your car pretty much unsettled, and that can also end up in a DNF, as we have fairly sunny Sunday or a virtual Sunday in the game there back in Netherlands. So probably looks like a dry race. Let's see how the weather pans out. Not sure if there is any kind of a weather change through the course of these 36 laps, as the drivers are also just setting their strategies up and seeing how much can they push on those used soft tires, while the ones behind would be looking to go long on the mediums. And it would be interesting to see if there's anybody who chooses to start on the hards. Alrighty. Yep, that's whoa. Alright, the entire back row on the mediums. Alright, Ahif and I am Rahul had set in their times on the mediums. Might have just missed my sight at the moment, but VFX going really wide, exploring the lengths of the track, as that might just be a position where he might find himself as we see lights out in a few minutes here, as 18 drivers bunched up on the grid, 10 drivers on the mediums and 8 on the soft. So the medium runners, probably the pit window maybe somewhere around lap 23 or 24 for these medium runners, while the softs can go up to lap softs to hard is what the game suggests, otherwise a two-stopper with a medium. But I believe it pretty much is possible to do a softs to mediums, and the probability of safety car coming in on this track is pretty high, and we might just be seeing 1 or 2 odd safety cars. Let's see how that works out. Alright, we have a slow moving car of Jin that has pretty much lined up back at the grid. So, or was it a Zune? Okay, nonetheless, we are pretty much ready for 36 laps of racing around Zandvoort, if I pronounce that correctly, as the engines are roaring and lights out, and we have a drive-through for Vyom, and Vyom is trying to make the maximum out of it, and VFX and a lot of drivers getting distracted. VFX having a really bad start. Hushrav has made the most out of this, and now finds himself up in net P1, as PSI Legends is right back behind him, as there's a yellow flag for a few cars behind. I think that's Red Bull of Mayan that has had a moment coming out of turn 1, as a lot of drivers following suit, as Epic Brothers and PSI Legends are going together. PSI Legends probably having a moment and having to yield that position, as VFX not having the best of starts, down to P5, as we see all the drivers fairly navigating. There's a slow moving AlphaTauri of I am Rahul, but I think he's found the grip and the temperatures on his tires at the moment. So probably the AlphaTauri of Quick Killer and Mayank having a moment together, as now we come back, as Hushrav has also overtaken Vyom and taken the lead of the race, and now comes to wind up the first lap, which has fairly been a bit clean, but not sure if we see slow cars, they might just head into the pits, as Vyom would probably look to fulfill his drive-through in the third lap and try to create as much of a gap as he can, as drivers have now settling. Quick Killer is in the pits, so he has had a moment there. Right, so the top 5 tops, or the top 10, all the drivers coming out fairly cleanly, and the medium runners following all the cars behind, as Tanishq is getting away from the lead medium runner of Chip Schema, but he wouldn't mind as much at the moment, as Tanishq has a moment and goes really deep into that corner. And Hushrav has built a 1 second gap, and Epic Brothers is challenging Vyom. So would Vyom look to pit on this lap, or probably look for another lap of racing and hope that there is some kind of incident, something that can probably slow some of the drivers down. Doesn't look as Epic Brothers is really hot on Vyom right now, and he really wants to get that move through as DRS is now enabled. Hushraf with a 1 second lead with that buffer that will help him protect, defend, help him stay away from Epic Brothers before he gets into his DRS. As we see a train of cars moving, gradually spacing out, cars finding their rhythm, drivers finding their rhythm and their pace, and making sure they have their wings and engines intact, and which very much looks like the case. Let's see how that works out, as now DRS has been enabled. So that's a beautiful helicopter shot that we are getting for these drivers. And is Epic Brothers close enough to make that move? No, not really, but he can surely line up his move at the exit, as there's a DRS train that is going to follow behind Vyom, and Vyom will be boxing this lap. So Epic Brothers will get the DRS and will get that few tenths of edge which he can gain on Hushraf, because that might just be a 2 second lead that Hushraf will have, and PSI, and that's a DRS train leader in the likes of Epic Brothers. So he really needs to push this lap whatever time he can find to get a breather behind and also catch the car ahead. As Vyom comes back down in P17, comes out from the pits. Now he'll be looking to make his moves on the soft tires before they start wearing out. And Tanish has had a moment, and whoa, that's a lot of position loss for Tanish, but he still has no damage at all, just probably cooked tires there. So he needs to really keep it slow for these next few corners as he cuts the curb aggressively, has two cars really hot behind him, and they're going almost 3 wide, and Vyom gets into that sandwich, and whoa, that was tricky for Tanish. Hopefully these drivers have managed to keep their car and their wings alive. Hopefully we don't see them slowing down, so Tanish should be able to get, as Ahif has retired from the session. Whoa, not having the best of exits there at all and losing his car. So there's a safety car, so that's the first safety car that we see. Tanish coming in, Mayank coming in on a set of hards. Tanish having a wing change? No, just probably having a change of tires. So he also is on a set of hards here. What do the leaders do? This should be a good time to pick and come on a set of mediums and hope for another safety car, or otherwise box for a set of softs towards the end, because one stopper on a hards is, as much as it is possible, but it can really make you very slow, and there are a lot of low grip areas around this track. So hards, not the idea, not the best of choices in my personal opinion, but we see how these drivers fare out. But meanwhile, Hushraf coming close. Let's see what does he do. He comes, looks like he is coming into the pits. Is Epic Brothers following suit? Epic Brothers is, PSI Legends doesn't, and all the soft runners except PSI Legends are in the pits. Alright, so PSI Legends would be restarting the safety car on those soft tires, probably thinking he has a lot of life in his tires left yet, so might just make the most of it, as hopefully no pit lane overtakes. I think did we see any? Not really. So the medium runners getting that track position at the moment, so having started on those mediums, so these tires have a lot of life. And meanwhile, let's have a look at the position change since all the drivers mostly have pitted, but yeah, the medium runners would be the biggest of the gainers. Shadow Sword has gained 11 positions, so all this, so probably we can, even if we take out these 5 people, so 6 positions in the start. That's a good start for Shadow Sword, considering I believe he started from P16 and now finding himself in P5 at the moment. But let's see how this strategy works out for these medium runners, as we have more than half of the grid that has 3 drivers have DNF, half the remaining grid has boxed. Top 7, top 6 yet to box, 5 of them on a set of medium tires. Alright, so first safety car at the end of lap 4. As the Indian Racing League, whoa, drivers coming pretty close. The Indian Racing League has now hit 200 subscribers. So thank you, folks, all of you, for coming in and joining in and giving us the love. We hope we provide you a lot of action and a good racing action. So you can check out a few races and a few highlights from a few of our previous races, and you will surely think along the lines that I am. But nonetheless, coming back to our race, so the first safety car in 5 laps. Probably we might just have a couple more or something. Let's hope these drivers can still keep their noses clean and manage their tires, as the safety car is in this lap. So the ASI legends on those 6-lap old softs versus chip schema, those mediums do take their time to come up to temperatures. PSI taking it slow and easy, but these softs, once they wear out, it is easy to lose your grip on them as well, as we did have a spinner from a safety car lead in our previous race yesterday in the Division 2, as PSI Legends has gone, and that's fairly a neat and clean restart, which he has taken a 6/10 gap, so that grip advantage providing. As are there any moves around? That some car did lose it. Which one was it? I'm not sure. Was that the Alfa Romeo? There are drivers in the pits. Oh yeah, Shadow Sword. Oh, and that's the same place where he had ended his qualifying run. So sorry, Shadow, for the commentator's curse, but you will come back very soon. As Yash is in the pits, has just coming out of the pits, so not sure what happened there. Did he clip wings in the safety car? That, as there is a move, was there? Oh, Ethan is making moves. Vintage player is looting, probably letting the T1 drivers go and make their race. He doesn't want to really be a hindrance to those drivers. Or does he have damage? I'm not very sure what that is. But that's some great view of racing that we are enjoying. And PSI Legends meanwhile having a 1.4 second lead up ahead. As Ethan looking for a move there? No. Was Ethan looking? No. Alright, definitely a lot of life left in the tires of PSI Legends in that clean air, so really pushing as much as he can and making that gap, and those softs are really giving him the life, as Chip Schema is holding himself on those medium tires, though losing ground, but he's got I Am Rahul right behind him, racing, followed by Racing Gupta, who has Hushra still behind him. Racing Gupta has a breather of a second there, but the and Epic Brothers on those hard tires is also right there. VFix would be looking to try and gobble up that position, taking that tire, maximizing the tire advantage that he can get here. As probably this is currently the closest battle that we can follow. As DRS would also be enabled, and I think that was the message that we just had at the moment, was it? And VFix close enough, but not close enough to make that move on Epic Brothers. And let's see if he chooses a different line here to Epic Brothers. Epic Brothers not really lacking any kind of pace there on those hard tires, having the neatest of exits that he can from those tricky corners, low traction zones as well. As Yash Kosalia sets the fastest lap of the race in that clean air, so he really would be looking to make his move in roads. Is that a move coming from VFX? DRS open for him, and probably this zone is a very short straight, and it really is really hard to pull a move here. But if VFX can really line himself up, he's 3 tenths behind him, slowly catching in. Now DRS open for him, gets that assist. Goes to the right, comes onto the inside, and goes. That's an easy move before the braking zone. So P6 for VFX there. As Quick Killer has also made a move on Jin, the medium tires, giving them the advantage that they need right now. While Jin would be playing the longer game and would be trying to hold on behind Quick Killer as much as he can, though he is losing ground, but he'll try to hold back as much as he can. And so would be the case for Epic Brothers, as we have Chip Schema, who's fallen 2.5 seconds behind. So that's probably expect that gap to either come down or stay consistent, as now pretty much those 10 lap old softs and these 10 lap old mediums would be at a comparable pace, and in fact mediums giving that better grip, as we see a fairly fluctuating time between the two, as behind Chip Schema is a train of cars and a train of DRS, and Chip Schema 7.5 tenths ahead of I Am Rahul at the moment. While there is a move somewhere around, was there? No, I think Chip Schema is holding guard right now. But that's VFX hot on Hushraf behind, so very difficult to make those moves right now. Epic Brothers on those hard tires and getting the DRS from the cars ahead and making the most of his pace to keep with these medium runners. Alright, coming DRS open for all of these people, going back to Chip Schema. Oh, he has a gap that he can probably maintain, and these drivers, train of cars following, and Chip Schema being the leader of that train, but fairly has that almost a second. He is pretty much poised to pull away from Rahul, but this DRS might just help him keep. And I could see the red light flashing of Chip Schema, so that's all battery pumped, drained, and let's see if that recovery comes on very soon. As did we? No, car's almost coming close. VFX looking on the inside, but no move there for VFX. As PSI Legends is still pulling, that's probably because Chip Schema is also more worried about defending his position than trying to follow and pull up to Chip, as there's a yellow flag for the Aston Martin of Jin that has had a moment on those hard tires. Oh, yeah, Probably, I don't know if he has any kind of damage. Not from the looks of it. Oh, was there another car spinning? Yes, Shadow Sword has spun himself around, so not the best of races, and I'm not able to see him come back. And yes, finally he is able to come back. Still a long race to go. He can still keep his head down and make a comeback. Anything can happen in this race. Any one safety car and he's right back in the game, so hopefully he can get his composure through as Chip Schema's red light is flashing, and really he is doing a brilliant shift at the engine or at the cockpit or at his own cockpit, as all this might just help Mayank to on Quick Killer to get attached to this train if they can get that pace. Any moves coming? No moves, as the cars just following following the car ahead, following them close through the slip, taking whatever slipstream that they can get. As I am Rahul, this time 6 tenths behind Chip Schema. Is Chip Schema low on battery? Is that a move? Is that a move coming? Rahul is closing in, but here comes close to the braking zone, almost kisses the rears of Chip Schema. No moves coming there. All the cars still following suit, so Chip Schema really keeping his composure there and making sure he gets his car at the right place at the right time and gets the gap that he needs at the most crucial time. As much as Rahul is really closing in the first sector, all it matters is getting a brilliant exit through those penultimate corners. As I'm Rahul this time has fallen back, so Chip Schema does manage to get a good exit down through this hairpin, and now as he approaches the final corner, what's going to happen now? Rahul less than half a second or half a second behind him at the detection. What do we have in store this time around? Rahul is closing in. Does he have enough battery to make that move? And he doesn't. And there is a move. Hushrav is looking to make that move on Racing Gupta. Unrests him a bit. Racing Gupta has a moment there, but still keeps his car and his position there and has his defense set as cars come very close to each other here. Wow, this is a great... Oh, is that a move from coming in through... No, that isn't. So that was just cars almost. Probably the angle just caught me there. As here we come again, as Rahul will now attempt another time. Can he get that move? And there's a yellow flag for the Aston Martin of Jin, so not the best of moments on those hard tires, and this time he also doesn't have a front wing, so he would be looking to get back into the pits. Meanwhile, PSI Legends has a 5-second lead and on 15 lap soft plus make that 2 more laps as Rahul goes on the inside of Chip Schema. They're going side by side. Chips is not willing to yield. They make the slight bit of wheel rubbing there as Chips has a moment, and the Mercedes of Racing Gupta tries to make the most of the moment, places his car beautifully as Hushrav tries to get a better exit from Chip Schema, and he also gets that exit. Now VFix, would he have to hold back? He might just have to hold back. I'm not sure if there is damage for Chip Schema, but there was also a yellow flag during this battle that unfolded. I think it was for the Alpine of Shadow Sword again, and there are intermittent yellow flags. Vintage, oh, that was a yellow flag for Vintage player. Probably he also lost his car at the exit of the final corner. as I am Rahul. Now 6 seconds clear of the train. As this train, a lot of pushing and shoving happening, but Rahul is now the new leader of this train. Now Hushraf half a second behind him. Can he make that move? Does Rahul have enough battery to be able to put forward his defense? Sticks to the left. Hushraf has that move and makes it fairly ahead of the braking zone, as Racing Gupta and Hushraf probably also somewhere having that moment, and a lot of exchanging of positions. Pretty hard racing going on here in these drivers, as Chip schema is continuing, so that's probably a 100% okay wing damage, 100% okay front wing there. As let's see, as Chip schema that's pretty much Quick Killer has also attached himself to the train here. Now the question is, when does PSI Legends pit? Because he's gone 17 laps on those. As there is a yellow flag for Quick Killer, as the moment I say he has attached himself, he has detached himself. Oopsie. Not coming at the right time, am I, on these drivers? But these front runners are really giving us a great show of racing, as Ethan really hard on Chips, whose battery is really depleted, and there is a move. Quick Killer gets back Mayank, and Mayank also struggling on those 11 at old softs, and Epic Brothers sets the fastest lap of the race on those hard tires. So something happened to Epic Brothers as well, who finding himself in P12, as Mayank has retired from the session. Is that a safety car? And I can see droplets of rain, so weather definitely has changed, and these drivers are getting overcast. Malavia, I was so involved in the train, the action that was happening, that I just missed out on the weather, and now thankfully I can catch these droplets, as there is a safety car as well. So time for some wet weather racing. And when do these drivers box? So safety car at this moment is a pretty tricky time, and that's the reason why PSI Legends wasn't pitting. So Hushraf and PSI Legends, Hushraf making as much as trying his best, but the double stack will not help. Jin has, the both teammates have found themselves at the wrong time in the pits. That's not the place to be. PSI Legends has had a strategy blunder, I think, and he's come out on the hard tires. Oh, that's a ride back to the pits again, is it? Or are these conditions such that I see rain intensifying and these drivers are going? So that's pretty much a strategy blunder, I believe, that PSI has done over there, despite having that ample time to before the double stack as well. So not the best of sights there. Shadow, I hope you have set your strategies right. Yes, you have. You are going on the right set of tires. Alright, so it's more like Hushraf in the net lead of the race, because these hard tires, he really would not want to be a Lando Norris from Russia, and trying to do something fairly very ballsy, because there are still 16 laps to go. Yep, something I did notice, that the pit exit, the shaky pit exit from PSI, but I don't know, that's for the drivers, fellow drivers, to have a look at. Okay, PSI, time to head back, is it? What's the situation? So it is pretty much time for wets. Yes, it is time to head back. is that that very much looked like a speeding and hasn't been able to stop his car. And Jin is also in the pit, so these folks are double stacking again. But Jin is pretty much in last place, so thankfully having not been lapped, so that helps. But now tricky conditions, a new track, not a lot of racing over the years over here. Not sure how much that has been replicated onto the game, but this track is indeed very slippery, and it can be slippery in the dries, and I imagine what it would be like in the wets. But let's see, Hushrav has the lead of the race. I am Rahul following behind, Racing Gupta with his comeback full-time seat in P3. Chip Schema in P4 finds himself in a great place now. Ethan in P5, VFix P6, Vyom P7, Epic Brothers in P8, Yash in P9. So those medium runners, those medium starters of Chips and I am Rahul really benefiting and prolonging their stint, and not prolonging as much as those mediums could have taken those laps, but that safety car also came in at the right time for these drivers. But it would have been nice if we didn't have the safety car, as safety car is also in this lap, because then that drivers would have pitted, as there are position change for some reason and drivers have almost halted, so probably the speed of Hushrav safety car restart is catching those drivers, but nothing. That's pretty much what he's allowed to do, and he's building that gap. So let's see when he decided to go. Has he gone? He has gone, and he has a 3/10 gap to Rahul, who has a 3/10 gap behind him on Racing Gupta. Are we seeing any moves here on turn 1? I think not. Play drivers as Jin has retired. Has it been in the pits? That looks like in the pits. Yes, probably it does. So I think that's... Oh, VFix and Vyom going side by side. Vyom and VFix come together, and VFix has retired from the session. Another incident between these two drivers, and that's really not going to help any of the stewards' causes yet again. So don't know how much I caught from there, but these drivers definitely caught each other out. And is that another no, that's not another safety car, obviously. That shouldn't be, as these drivers have just slowed down because of the conditions. Folks, long day ahead again for the stewards. There's a spinner of PSI Legends, was it? No, oh, that was the retired car of Chin that came out of track, as Hushrav has a 1.5 second gap to Rahul, and Racing Gupta is a few tenths behind him, chasing a track difficult for overtaking in the dry, and situation critical in the wet, as Vyom is also back in the pits because of that incident with him, with VFix. As drivers should really be are there. It's all about drivers keeping their head and not... Oh, was that a front wing? Something happened, and I am Rahul doesn't have a front wing. Oh, as I say, the drivers just have to keep their head. He hasn't been able to keep his wing, so not the best of situations for him, as he would be letting all the cars go through. Definitely his teammate as well. So that's a run back to the pits, as as Hushrav has a 2.5 second lead to Racing Gupta. Coming down, Racing Gupta probably having a good stint in those wet conditions, as I don't think there are any moves coming. pits. That's overtaking British player. Yeah. I am Rahul gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Whoops. That's not going to help his cause again. As much as rain may make things interesting, but it also tends to make things boring a bit, as there are not a lot of overtakes, but drivers are being very close to each other, as there's another yellow flag for Shadow Sword and he has found his car in the gravel. So are those wing? Oh, that's a reset to track, buddy. You've been caught. Oopsie daisy. 10-second penalty to follow through for you. That's not the best of outcomes for Shadow, as hopefully if he can get his wing intact, he still has points that he can score here, as Ushrav has now made a 3-second lead onto Racing Gupta. And Chip Schema right behind him. Racing Gupta is the new leader of our new train, but this time there's no DRS. So expect the drivers to probably hold their positions and probably put some kind of pressure on the drivers ahead so that they get into making a mistake. And Ethan tries to go on the outside. No, he doesn't. He is still holding back behind Chip Schema. So Chip Schema looking very poised with that another podium. If I don't remember if that was a podium last time around as well, but a brilliant drive from him. Right, as there's just drivers taking different lines, finding their rhythm in these wet conditions. Is Quick Killer going to make a move? No, nothing doing here. Enjoy your week, my love. That's going to be fun stewarding again. Vyom has left the session, so I don't know if that's... what just happened there. Hopefully he can join us back. As VFix is in a commanding position in the race, it just has a bit of the moment. Probably counter steers his car just to hold his ground. And there's a yellow flag as Quick Killer has retired from the session. And that's a safety car yet again. The back to bunch up. And probably 8 laps of racing to go. Not the best of campaigns for Quick Killer here, or the Alpha Tauris rather. So both have retired from the session, and 12 or 11 out of the 18 drivers who started the race now are still in the race, as hopefully we shouldn't see the safety car that would rather be very long, or probably still might just go those 2 laps that it does. So looking at this safety car period, seeing how the drivers' championship stands right now, so Hushrav with that win and Ethan in P4, who has the fastest lap at the moment. So it's Epic Brothers with the fastest lap, and that's going to stand as is. So that way Hushrav with 25 points and Ethan with why are these drivers racing each other? Was either of the driver in AI mode? Oops, probably it's the AI mode catching the drivers. I think only AI can try and make those moves if the car is way far behind. I don't know what is going on there. But anyway, coming back, so that'll be like 16 points for Ethan and 25 points for Hushrav. And their points have, right now Azun, by the way, I have read it wrong, has taken P2, who is 10 points behind Hushrav, but he has retired. 10 points behind Ethan, but he has retired from the session. Oh, I don't even remember what happened there when that Mercedes lost its car. I don't know if I even caught it. But nonetheless, coming back to how the points stand, and the gap between Hushrav and Ethan is right now 16, so Ethan might just be able to climb that place back up to P2, and Ethan would still retain his lead for the drivers, and Racing Gupta providing the respite for the Mercedes and probably helping them retaining their lead. For the constructors, it's a 55-point lead that they have at the moment. So, and looks like Tanishq also, who had to serve a quali ban, hasn't done so. So probably heavier penalties coming his way, as I believe safety car would be in this lap. I think, yeah, he is backing the pack up. As Hushrav has gone already, and was that a slowdown again? I don't know. But Racing Gupta has been alert, and now Hushrav has gone, and so has Racing Gupta and Chip Schema behind, and so is URL Ethan, while the rest of the pack is really behind as Chip Schema is going on the outside. Racing Gupta doesn't have the best of the exits, and is that they are still behind. Racing Gupta gets that better grip on that line, but Chip Schema, Ethan still holding that position, and Hushrav also getting the breather from that safety car restart, as Ethan was looking hot on Chips, but this is a place where you really have to hold your guard and keep following, as Yash has also come up to P5, and that penalty might hurt him, but much as he can build a gap behind, so that will really help his cause. As there are drivers that are going wide, but they still have their car and their position intact. Alright, as Epic Brothers and PSI Legends are going side by side, PSI Legends has a bit of a moment, Epic Brothers has a bit of a moment, and PSI Legends makes the most of that situation and gets his car right up front. So this is what these drivers would be looking for, the other driver to make that kind of mistake, but Epic Brothers wants to come back. They are side by side going into turn 1 on the outside, but PSI Legends parks his car at the apex, as there is a yellow flag again for a car and of Alfa Romeo of Epic Brothers. Oh, whoa. How did I miss that then? I don't know what kind of views the game gave me, or whoops, I have to see that. How did he lose his car? Probably there's some kind of contact that happened between the two, and Epic Brothers has lost all the positions that he was looking to further gain, as the rain has gotten intense and there are a lot of wet puddles of water that I can see. So is any of the driver going to take a gamble and go for the wets? 6 laps to go. It's very hard to make that time back up if you decide to box. But looking at these conditions, these are really very tricky conditions. It's definitely not easy to be in the cockpit at the moment, as these drivers are just trying to navigate their way through these patches and would have to be really mindful at the exit here at this banked corner, as Hushraf is in the pits. Chip Schema is also in the pits for a set of wet tires. Hushraf gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, so that's going to hurt him a lot, as a lot of drivers are in the pits for a set of wet tires, while Racing Gupta, Ethan, Legends and Vyom are deciding to continue. They think that there are not a lot of laps left here, and these drivers who are going to pick may not be able to claw that position back, but we'll be able to find out. As Vyom and Hushraf, the gap between them is something that we need to look out for, which is coming down by a tenth, every corner. So these low speed corners are where these drivers are going to struggle the most, and let's see how this works out for these top 4, because if they box now, they are definitely going to lose those positions. So it's better now they have taken this call that it's better that they should continue right now. There's no point boxing, but let's see what can happen amongst these drivers, as Hushraf is really, as there's a yellow flag somewhere for some driver. I think was that for Yash, not very sure, probably looks like it. But coming back to this, as Hushraf is now 11 seconds, so that's 5 laps to go, and he's definitely catching by about a rate of 3 seconds per lap, and by that math, or now there's 4 laps to go, is it? So yeah, 4 laps to go. We're now, oh no, it's the 32nd lap that they started, so 5 laps to go now, so 15 seconds. He has that gap. Let's see what kind of impact can Hushraf make, and his penalty would really hurt him right now. And there is a moment, somebody has a moment, I think Ethan has a moment coming out of those left medium speed corners, and has lost the position to both Vyom and PSI Legends, as Vyom has now, PSI Legends has had a moment. I am getting so confused amongst these drivers. The constructor I'm trying to view, spectate, and the driver I'm at, it has become very confusing for me. And as Ethan is now at P3, Vyom into P2. So after that incident has really got his place back and had his fair share of luck with all the weather and the safety cars. Let's see what can he do. He's almost a second, less than a second, 8 tenths behind Racing Gupta. Pretty hard to overtake, but these conditions are really treacherous for these intermediate runners, as Hushraf is now just 3.5 seconds behind PSI Legends, and there are 3 laps to go, or still 4 laps to go, I think, as Vyom is in the grass and he still has his position, but is he able to? Yep, he does have that position right now, but he is not really having the best of the moments, as Hushraf has caught up to this pack, and that's the only hope he can have, this 5-second penalty. If he can manage the gap between these intermediate runners and the next wet runner behind him, so he might just still be able to take that victory. 3 laps to go, 3.5 laps to go, and there is a car that's going to dive down the inside of, that was Hushraf, I think, who dived down the inside of PSI, or was that PSI diving down the inside of Hushraf? Getting pretty confusing as I'm looking at a lot of markers, and and Ethan has a moment on those intermediate tires. I'm not sure if they had contact together, but now Hushraf is really in the entire lead and would be looking at catching Racing Gupta very soon. And there are 3 laps of racing now to go. Let's see how much can Racing Gupta hold his position back as Chip Schema and URL Ethan are going together, and Ethan has lost that position to that superior wet tire there, as there's a yellow flag and Epic Brothers has retired from the session. Whoa, I don't think that's going to call for a safety car, is it? No, that's not. Racing Gupta really having a tough time on those inters, but it's not. You really have to make your move at the right place, as Shrav would be trying to line his car up to get that exit that he needs. He's also already side by side with Racing Gupta, gets that better grip on those wet tires and has made that move. And as Chip Schema and Vyom are now side by side, Vyom on those inters, making it hard for Chip Schema to be able to make that move. And Chip Schema has to really take some avoiding action as Vyom just parks his car in the middle, as Chip Schema goes for the switchback as there are yellow flags, but he makes that switchback and that superior grip, takes full advantage of it and makes the move past Vyom, as Vyom would now has PSI Legends behind him, as Shadow Sword and Ethan are going side by side, and that's a good comeback for Shadow Sword at P6, and the intermediate runners are being gobbled up right now as Vyom and PSI Legends. Racing Gupta still thankful that there is a fight behind, there are intermediate runners behind, as he almost has a moment and loses his car, and that gives Chip Schema the advantage and a great position to probably steal the win if he can cover those couple of tenths from Hushraf, as Racing Gupta would be also breathing a bit easy right now because he has intermediate runners behind him, as Shadow Sword gets that exit and they're side by side with PSI Legends but gets superior traction, goes as makes that move early before the braking zone. So that's another place for Shadow Sword, as now he would try to line up Vyom, and if he can get that position, that podium position from Racing Gupta, can he? As Hushraf is really making that, increasing that gap and is fairly comfortable to take the race victory despite the 5-second speeding penalty. But Racing Gupta is just one more lap to go and just one more lap of keeping her head, and Racing Gupta parks his car there, but he knows he doesn't have the grip that he needs at the exit and he would have to yield that position, as now these inter runners, PSI is almost on the grass there. Shadow Sword, what kind of penalties does he have? He needs to really pull that 3 seconds from Racing Gupta, which he probably can. That delta is increasing by a few tenths every corner, so he would be really poised to get that. Is Racing Gupta just missing out on that podium position? Yes, he is. All these intermediate runners really struggling, as there is another car of I Am Rahul that has come and taken that lead. So these wet runners really making, and I Am Rahul and Racing Gupta making it hard at that final corner. Hushraf takes the win of the race. I have missed him crossing the checkered flag because there is a man. Racing Gupta is struggling to keep his car alive, and he has lost that position to Vyom, PSI and Yash Kosalia as well as Vintage Player at the end. And those intermediate runners, not the best of the race victories that they wanted. Meanwhile, Hushraf taking the victory, Chip Schema taking P2, and Shadow Sword with that massive comeback wet tire gamble really paid it off. So those wet runners in those last 6 laps making the right call to box as Hushrav taking the race victory. Chip Schema with a great drive coming in P2 again in those interchangeable conditions with that medium to dry stop. Perfectly well managed race by him. Shadow Sword lining up the podium positions. I am Rahul making that comeback after breaking his wing in that one of those safety car restarts. Is now finds himself in P4. Yash Kosalia P5. A good comeback drive from him. PSI Legends intermediate runners has the intermediate runner had to lose it to those wet runners. Vintage player Racing Gupta, Vyom, Ethan rounding up the top 10. Epic Brothers who DNF probably, and I think all the rest of the ones would not be scoring any points. So that's a pretty intense race that we had, and I hope our viewers also enjoyed that. This was really great changing conditions, a lot of safety cars, a lot of gambles and bets being pulled off, and great drive by a lot of drivers. So, okay, let's probably time to call the other folks to the party. Oh, come on. Hopefully, we should have the drivers joining up. Let me have a look again. Alright, I think we have all our podium finishers. So let's start with P3. So Shadow, intense race for you. Terrible quali and and a race full of ups and downs. Pretty sinusoidal there for you. So talk us through your race. Tell us how it
Oh
went and
man.
what car were you, mate? Alpine,
I
you
was
are.
Alpine. I was
Yeah,
Alpine. Yeah.
yeah.
Honestly, this is one of my like first few races on the PS5 controller, so I'm still getting used to it. So I don't know what the hell happened in quali. Just kind of lost it starting the lap and put it in the wall, and so I was just sitting there waiting for like 18 minutes, just fucking waiting for the stupid race to start. And then the race started. I did well. The mediums were a good call to start on. I think I was like P4, P5, at the SC where all the soft runners boxed. And then, like an idiot on the SC restart in the exact same place as quali, I binned it and put it in the wall. And like an idiot, while reversing to straighten my car out, I just I just bumped my rear wing into the wall and then broke it a little bit. So I was driving through the race with rear wing damage, so I was really slow. And yeah, just good strategy and timely SCs kind of saved the race and brought home a P3.
Yeah, the intermediate tire runner of Racing Gupta behind helped you build that 3 second gap as well. And meanwhile, there was a mess behind. But yep, congratulations on that podium. That's pending stewards inquiry indeed. A lot of a lot of wrongdoings being caught on stream. So
What do you mean?
you'll
Oh,
find out.
what are you saying? What did you catch on stream?
Yeah, I caught
Show
your
me,
10-second penalty for reset to track, so that's going to
10
probably.
Oh
seconds.
no, 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 no,
What do you mean? No, you
no.
didn't, bro. No, you did. No,
You'll
you
find
did.
out. You'll probably
No, you
everything. The
did.
way you
Bro,
summarized your race, everything
easy,
has been
easy,
caught on
easy,
stream.
easy. Just why are you focusing on me, man? I was last, Toby.
No,
I
no.
was last.
Yeah, but anyway,
Mate, don't report me, man. Just leave me
irrespective of
be.
the, I don't. I'm just a commentator, so it's for your fellow drivers. But nonetheless, I mean that's pending towards inquiry.
Toby.
But despite the ups and downs, you made those right strategy calls and put your car in P3. So congratulations. That's still a great drive from you.
Oh,
Nothing taken
me.
there.
Oh, man. Fuck. Sorry for the language.
Anyway, yeah, it's all right. So we'll move on to while you soak yourself in, we'll move on to P2 in chip schema. So I think probably a back-to-back podium, if I'm not wrong. I don't remember, but a great drive from you in Monaco in those transition conditions, and just a one-stop from a dry to wet, and you replicated that here in again with those strategic pole positions. I think you like that place around on this grid in this league. But a great drive. Take us through your race.
Yeah, so I compromised quali to have a better chance in the race because I know that against all the D1 drivers I have no quali pace. So I compromised my setup, and I had a very bad qualifying. I think I was 11th or I was 12th. I don't know where I was.
P11.
But from there on, it was just trying to be consistent lap after lap. I think the only problem I had in the race was on the medium tires, like when Rahul made a very aggressive dive on me, and then it cost me like a few places and a fair bit of time. But apart from that, I actually followed Hoshrav in when he decided to box for the wet tires, and that was the right call. I was contemplating it, but it ended up being the right call. And yeah, to Hoshrav, I have to say, man, you can calm down. I'm not fast enough to catch you. So you have driven an amazing race. So congratulations to him, and to everyone else. I think it was Racing Gupta. I had a few fights with him, but yeah. Anyways, congrats to Shadow, pending Stewart's inquiry, and congrats to Hoshrav.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
congrats guys. I forgot
And
to say.
congratulations to you as well, Chips. A great drive from you.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, coming to the race winner, despite having a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane right in the last 5 laps and managing to pull that gap. Great strategy calls from you, Hushrav. Great race. Congratulations on that victory. Take us through your race.
It was oh man. Lap one, I think Vyom and I were starting side by side, and he jumped the start. And at the same time, like when you jump the start, the drive-through indicator will come up on the side, and I noticed like something changed in my peripheral vision. And getting scared, I also let my clutch go, and I got the most insane start ever because my finger slipped exactly when the lights went out. So I was pretty much like up to P1 in the first sector itself from P4. Then it was going well. We had a bit of a truly train in the middle, so we had to like make the moves there. I think it was Rahul and Chips, who were holding, and then Gupt as well, who was on the old tire. So those three were going way slow, so I had to make my moves there, get that done. And then once I got that done, Sal was actually running a fantastic race. I mean, on those soft tires. It's a shame he put on the hard tires. I think he didn't change inters, unfortunately. He was running a really, really strong race. But yeah, nonetheless, after that, it was going on to the inters. Again, the race was controllable. And then I decided I had like 7 laps left, and I'm like, okay, this is like way too much because I was properly aquaplaning in 7th gear. So I was like, the second I started aquaplaning, I was like, no, it's not about like it being the right call. It's about me ending up in the wall somewhere. So then I just decided to pit. Overspent the pit lane drastically because I didn't have the pit, like I hadn't selected boxless lap, so I didn't know where the pit lane was, and I just completely smashed my braking point. And then the track just kept getting worse. My pace kept getting better compared to the guys around me. And then last 2 laps was a bit stressful. I could have relaxed, but I couldn't, unfortunately, because of the 5 seconds, and Chips was right behind. So I had to just pull that gap, and Yeah.
Yep, those
Manic race.
intermediate
So,
runners did have a role to play, so they did hold those all the wet
yeah,
tire
yeah,
runners
for sure.
behind you, so that helped you. But nonetheless, despite that 5 second, even if chips behind you pulled that out to six and a half odd seconds, so great pace and a great race from you. Congratulations, and I think,
Thanks a lot, man.
and since now Ethan goes down into P10, so that's your championship lead back again, right?
Oh,
So
it
I
is?
think,
I'm,
yeah,
I'm
I
not sure.
think so. I think so. So you had a 16 point gap, and so probably that's something a good heavy takeaway for you for the weekend. So a successful Dutch campaign, and hopefully
Cheers,
you
man.
all had a great fights and great battles because we truly enjoyed the train racing and all of that happened. And so that's it for our stream. Do with us again next week as we head to Monza. So another great track for fast racing. Until then, that's good night and have a happy weekend to all of you. Cheers. Oops.